Wisdom of the earth, lessons unfold from Cornville's heart, red rocks behold. Hello, good morning, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm great. Very happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us today. My name is Christina. I'm marketing specialist for Wisdom of the Earth. And we are here to learn a little bit more about you today. And, how is it that you became involved with Wisdom of the Earth?
Yeah, my name is Michelle Colt, and I was first introduced to these incredible essences. I'm thinking back, it must have been about 17 years ago.
Wow.
My husband and I were doing a facilitator training in Sedona with the Sedona method, becoming certified coaches in that. And actually, it was recommended to us to go to Wisdom of the Earth. We were speaking to somebody there and sharing that we wanted to have some fun experiences in the area. And I had already been using essential oils from a different brand. And this person at the workshop said, "You have to check out Wisdom of the Earth." And what's interesting about my story is that I cannot do pharmaceutical drugs. I never have been able to. They make me very sick. So I have always had to use essential oils for what ails me, so to speak. I've always been very healthy, so it's been a very interesting, fun journey. So we took a ride out to the old location, and I'm pretty sure it was Audrey that I was talking to, and I said, "I want to get some of these. What do you recommend?" And she said, "Well, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're looking for support around." So I shared with Audrey that there was a lot of anxiety in my lineage, especially in the maternal side of my family, and that my mother had died very young from breast cancer. She had just turned 60 when she passed. And so Audrey recommended laurel leaf. And I got laurel leaf that day and a couple of others. Barry was there that day as well and recommended blue lotus to my husband, being that blue lotus really has the energy of Christ consciousness. My husband is a deeply spiritual man, and that appealed to him. We still love laurel leaf and blue lotus. So I started to change over to Wisdom of the Earth because it was just so far superior to the other brand that I was using. And then I started bringing the essence for, let's see, was it about 20 years? Robert, my husband, Robert Colt, and I taught a very beautiful workshop all over the country called Inside Game. It was really helping people get through the mental, emotional blocks that they had in order to have more well-being. And we noticed that people that had more well-being oftentimes went on to have more success in their lives. And I started using the essences, sharing them with the people at the workshops. I started using them in my private sessions. I do a lot of private coaching. And it was remarkable because basically I was able to help people get off anti-anxiety meds, balance their hormones with them. I have a really wonderful podcast called Courage to Shine with Michelle Colt. It is on Spotify and Apple.
Okay, well, a link down here for everybody to check it out.
Awesome. That'd be really groovy. Yeah, they're short episodes. In many of the ones I did the first year, I was doing them weekly the first year. I actually teach my powerful processes and techniques. And yeah, they're very, very special and they're short. So, anyways, so the name of the podcast is Courage to Shine. So, the way I've used these incredible medicines now is in so many different ways. My particular expertise is also around inherited family trauma and the mother wound and the father wound. I've also been teaching a workshop now for about 3.5, 4 years called Sacred Sisterhood. I teach it all over the United States. And if someone chooses to, they get 6 of the essences with the workshop. So yeah, I mean, these essences are just so special, so magical. Audrey recently shared with me that she is the one who came up with the name for the company, Wisdom of the Earth, which is just brilliant beyond brilliant that that's the name of the company. And so much of my work is all around nervous system regulation. being somebody who went through a tremendous amount of trauma, crazy mother wound. I'm actually writing a book about it right now. I have always sought out what I can that's natural to really regulate my nervous system. Yeah, I'm actually known as a nervous system whisperer. It's the name of my ebook on my
Oh,
website.
that's so cute. I love that.
Isn't that fun?
And the book. Okay, we have to get the link to the book as well.
Yeah, they can
Okay.
contact me about that. Anyways, interestingly enough, that laurel leaf was the first essence that I heard about from Audrey. Laurel leaf was the essence that I did my paper on when I became a certified aromatherapist after I did level 1. I did go through level 2 and I'm a master certified aromatherapist with the company now. Yeah, and Laurel Leaf is my girl. I mean, I use her, talk about her all the time. I had a new client come to see me here. I live in Sarasota, Florida yesterday, and she's just extraordinary because she's all about letting go of fear and having the courage to move forward.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah, and in this day and age, we need all the courage we can get.
Absolutely. Can't argue with that. So, what really motivated you to become an MD?
It's so funny, Christina, because when I did my original training for the level 1 training in 2018, we were living in Los Angeles at that time, my husband and I. And my husband was like, "You're going to want to sell these essential oils." And I'm like, "Honey, I have no time to be getting into a whole nother side business." But I really felt it was my responsibility to educate myself because I was recommending them. I was helping people with various things, as I said before. So I did the training and I could not sell these because of the integrity of them, the integrity of the company. I absolutely love that it's not a multi-level marketing company. I think that speaks so much to the integrity of Audrey, the company, and all of it. I just had to make them available. I'm just so passionate about them. I don't lead my business with them per se, but when the time is right and I feel that it's something that someone will be open to, I'm the first one to talk about them and recommend them.
That is fantastic. So, when you are incorporating them into your practice, how do you typically advise people on using them and how do you know which oils you want to recommend for them?
Yeah, great question. I'm very familiar with the various ones that are really targeted towards the nervous system. For example, frankincense is incredibly grounding. And what's really extraordinary about frankincense is that it's always in light because it's in the desert. So it's starlight, sunlight, moonlight. And so, in regards to my work around courage to be yourself, courage to shine, and that kind of thing, frankincense is going to be one of the essences that is so incredibly grounding.
Mm,
The cedar woods are very grounding. A lot of times it just depends on what the client is dealing with. The citruses in terms of tangerine or orange or whatever it may be, they're just so playful. And we can't have enough play in our lives because so many people are so incredibly overly serious because of trauma and because of what they went through as children and that kind of thing, and adults even. So it really depends. It depends. If I'm going to be recommending for something around really evening out the hormones,
mhm.
I'm going to go towards geranium, rose, clary sage
Okay.
are going to be, more of my go-tos. It really depends on the person. In terms of really helping people to feel safe shining and opening up their hearts, as we now know, the electromagnetic field of the heart is 5,000 times stronger than the brain.
Well, you
Hello.
can feel it. It's a 6 foot energetic magnetic field around us through the heart space.
Exactly. And that's very hard for a lot of people who've gone through trauma and being able to move into a place where they feel safe in their own vulnerability and that kind of thing. So when I'm helping someone in that regard, I'm going to move towards Lang Lang. Lang Lang is so incredibly heart opening and then also has been known to really help people with confidence. And
Okay.
those two things really go together. When you feel more safe to open your heart, it's going to naturally help you to feel more confident.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it really depends. And, one of the things I learned in several of the trainings I did with wisdom, which I just adore, is that people begin to form their own intuitive relationship with the essential oils, the essences. So I always tell people, let's say you have 6 or 7 and you don't think you have the one for what ails you, whatever that might be. I help them connect with their own knowing and intuition so that they can trust themselves to know that something that they might not have thought would help with their headache or whatever it is actually going to assist them because they're magical.
They
You
are.
know,
They really, really are.
they
I mean,
really are.
the natural, raw, organic essence of a plant really does enable people to reconnect with nature in a sincere way that not everyone has the opportunity to do otherwise. And I just think that's beautiful. When you're advising people, say, like I want to open my heart space and I try the Lang Lang, how do you recommend people apply it? I know there are a lot of different applications. What are your preferred methods that you recommend to people?
Yeah, I'm really about people using them purely and neatly, so to speak. There's so many brands out there that aren't the quality of wisdom, and people have had bad experiences. So I always tell them to trust themselves. In the example of Lang Lang, I'm going to recommend that they anoint themselves or bless themselves with 3 drops right in the palm of their hand. And then with intention, really connecting to the essence and the medicine and the magic of it, really rubbing it on their heart. The word magic is a really, really interesting word, and it can be a little woo woo for some people. So I just want to say that when I use the word, I'm talking about love
I love
because I really feel that everything can be deduced down to either fear or love. So it's loving on yourself. So many people have no idea what self-love is. They didn't have examples of it. They had caregivers that didn't have the ability to love themselves. So any way we can use the essential oils to help open up that vulnerability, that heart connection, I believe is going to be very powerful. I would probably also recommend putting a little bit on their forehead, right on the third eye area, because that is really the part of us that can deeply, our heart as well, of course, but can really tune into the knowing and the intuition because the pituitary gland is right behind that area.
it.
And so I do sometimes counsel people around really being able to feel like they can trust their own intuition and knowing. It's fascinating because I've been channeling now for like 18 years, but didn't know that's what I was doing until last summer. I mean, I would get very warm in a session with a client, and I have a mediumship where people that have passed over would come through and I'd have a message. It's kind of crazy. And I know this is true for a lot of people, how much that's opening up for people over the last couple of years. I mean, even with my own husband, who I'll be married to 34 years in July, our telepathy is on a whole nother level. And there's nothing woo woo about it. There's nothing woo woo about it. And I think we're in a day and an age where if the person's open, using the essential oils to really connect with what they know in terms of knowing. And I love that the word now is in the word know or knowing.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yes.
I do love that. So, what is a favorite story that you like to share in terms of an impact or an experience that you or a client have had in utilizing the oils?
Yeah, I love this question. So I was thinking a lot about this question because I have so many stories, of course. But I think one of the ones that is really impactful in a really interesting way is that I was an actress and a print model when I was younger. And so when Robert and I started teaching workshops, it was about 23, 24 years ago, and he's a wonderful actor and acting teacher. And basically, we had a lot of actors and actresses working with us back then. And there was one woman that came to one of our 3-day workshops that then became a private client of mine, a very, very gifted actress. She's also studied with my husband. And she got a series regular on a TV show. And this was huge for her,
Yeah.
in so many different ways. And unfortunately, somebody who was part of the technical aspect of the TV show just had it in for her. We ended up discovering the whole story, years later, but she was making it very uncomfortable for my friend and client on set. So she came to do a session with me, my friend and client, and I told her, I said, I want you to get white sage and I want you to get hoe wood.
Okay.
And so I got them for her. And I said to her, about an hour before you're going to be on set, I want you to put it all over your feet. White sage has got a very strong smell. So you have to be careful in certain situations if you're going to use them, if you're around a lot of people. So I told her, don't do it right when you get there. Make it like an hour before you're going to be on there. And in all of the scenes she was doing, she had on shoes and socks. And I have to tell you, Christina, every time she remembered to do it, the woman left her alone.
Homewood. Hmm.
Hoewood and white sage.
And white sage.
They're
Interesting.
very, very protective. I mean, most
Okay.
people know that about white sage and sage.
Oh yeah, you sage it all.
Exactly. And then, what I went on to learn about those two essences, in my trainings and all of that, they're amazing for boundaries. And I mean, it's kind of remarkable how when she had those two on, this person left her alone.
Well, I think that aroma, is definitely one of the biggest. I'm trying to think of the word I'm trying to remember. It triggers memories, right? Like a smell.
Mm,
It'll trigger a memory, it'll trigger a reaction. And it's one of the most powerful ones that we have in terms of memories or emotions.
yeah.
Oftentimes smell is one of the things that will, kind of trigger that. So, I'm curious and wonder what particular facet of that essence is that really serves as that protective barrier. But fantastic share. Thank you. I'm sure people will love to hear about that. I think everyone in the world has probably encountered someone at some point in time who they really wish they would have never had to have encountered in the first place and could use that little extra boost of protection. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'll also mention along the same lines is that when I have clients that have to go spend time at the holidays with difficult relatives,
Mm.
I recommend Hoewood.
Oh,
And I don't necessarily recommend white sage in that situation. And many of them have shared with me that it made their experience home at the holidays much better.
really? So do
Yeah.
you typically say hoe it on the feet? That's just kind of like a
That's usually what I say, the bottom of the feet. You can
okay,
certainly take a couple drops and do this and kind of, around your aura and your energy field. And that kind of thing too would be very effective as well.
awesome. Fantastic. Learning new things. Love. So we know the WOT difference. How would you describe your business and your difference that you're creating in your journey?
Well, it's interesting. I used to teach a workshop in several different cities called How to Have the Courage to Let Your Light Shine and Be Seen. And I was teaching one of my workshops in Manhattan. God, how many years ago this was? This was like in 2015 or 2016. And I would always have about 8 different essences with me.
Okay.
And we got into the space. It was an art gallery that I taught it in Manhattan that my daughter was able to get for me. And I remember this one woman came in and I said, I have lavender. And she goes, oh, no, I don't like lavender. I can't do lavender. And I said, I understand. I said, will you give this one a chance? And of course, she loved it. And one of the things that I find to be extraordinary about WOT is that we have so many different kinds of lavender. Beans.
Right, which lavender was it?
Yes. Gosh, which one was I using a lot back then? I think it was lavender spike, if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
Yes, that one is great. We were just talking about how well that works with arthritis the other day.
Yes.
Great for, just kind of that relaxation of the muscles and
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I was out with my sister-in-law, God, this is like 2019, and I didn't have my peppermint with me. I use peppermint every single day. I
really,
love our Indian peppermint.
yes.
As a matter of fact, a little while ago, I took a shot glass, I put some pure water in it and 3 or 4 drops of it and slugged it down. I had had a lot of garlic at lunch, and sometimes that can bother my stomach a little bit. So, I mean, peppermint, I could go on for hours. So
Yeah.
anyways, we went to this Thai restaurant. It was right around the holidays, 2019, and I had had something that I thought was a little spicy for me, and had forgotten it. And she had one from another company.
Okay.
So she gave it to me and I smelled it and I was like, I can't believe this is peppermint. I mean, it smelled a little minty, but the difference in quality, it's the quality. I just think it makes it's crazy how great the quality is. I always tell people use up what you have in
Mhm.
terms of other brands and then just switch over to what I consider to be the best quality ones out there.
So when you're explaining the difference between our brand and other brands, how do you differentiate between the two?
Well, I tell them that it's important for them to trust their own experience. And I invite them to try mine, to try quotes. And I've never had a person who hasn't been able to see what a huge difference there is. I mean, our frankincense, we have two different kinds, and it's a little pricey these days because of all the tariffs and all of that. But I'm always like, smell it, use it,
Yeah.
and then they buy it. Because
Well,
quality is everything.
it is.
Quality is everything.
And I think one of the big differentiators between the quality of our essences and the quality of others is that we're not diluted in any way. There's
Yes.
no additives, there's no dilution. So you are literally working with pure raw essences from the plant,
Yes.
the natural farmers. We have the small farmers, small businesses. So we know where the plants were grown. We know the environment that they were grown in, the surrounding, the what was used to take care of them because that alters the plants as well, right? If you have a dry season, then they're gonna be a
Yes.
little bit different, which is also kind of important to note when you're testing out bottles. Not every single bottle is going to be the same because a batch from one season might be, a little different than a batch from the other season as well. Um,
Yeah,
but I think not all
absolutely.
companies have that variation and have that, like that rawness of their essences. So I just wanted to share that part too.
Yeah, I'm so happy you did. One of the other things I'll tell people is how Audrey, for the most part, has a personal relationship with
Mhm.
the farmers.
Yes, yes,
When I learned that, I almost did a double backflip.
yeah,
I'm like, are you kidding me?
yeah,
The other thing that makes Woat so different and superior, in my opinion, is it's not a corporation.
right, yeah,
Barry never wanted that to happen.
yeah,
And I always think it's so hilarious that we haven't even had a website that long
yes,
compared to other companies because it was always like, we wanted people to call and
yeah,
to speak to a certified aromatherapist, you
yeah,
know, and to me, that's everything. And our website is absolutely gorgeous and has so much information there now, which is great so that people can go and read about it. A lot of times when someone's going to order essences through me, I'll say, go to the website and read, see what you connect with, and then we'll chat and I can answer any questions that you have.
definitely.
That small time business, because as my husband and I have spoken about forever, when anything loses that hands-on personal connection, it becomes more about money
Mhm.
than the person, the quality, and
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So I think that that's another thing that makes Wisdom of the Earth very different than, and I mean, just how much Audrey cares.
she's passionate about it. And
Yes.
I love talking to her about it because her eyes light up and she gets excited and she's always happy to share information with anyone who's curious. So if
Yep.
you were offering advice to anybody who was interested in becoming an MD and learning more about it, what would your words of encouragement be for them?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I would say that it would be important to really, you know, do a deep dive into the website, really reading about all of the different magical medicine aspects of all the different essences. And then I would say talk to different people that work at Wisdom of the Earth. They'd be happy to talk to you and to guide you and to really follow their own intuition and knowing about it. A lot of times people will be making job changes and that kind of thing, and they'll come to me for my guidance around it. And what I always say is, as best you can, and as best as you can know this, you want to move towards what brings you joy, what brings you a sense of well-being, a sense of peace. Happy is fleeting. In my estimation, joy is what we really are in
Yeah.
our true nature. So moving towards what really brings you joy makes your heart happy, gives you a sense of well-being. And I would think that anybody who's going to move in that direction, you're going to be very heart led. It's going to be a very intuitive type movement. And you have no idea, like, all of the applications for these beauties. I mean, it's extraordinary because they're really treating you on a spiritual level, on a mental level, on an emotional level, and very much around your biology as well. I mean, it's just incredible,
It's
the
the full
wealth that's there.
spectrum of healing,
Yep.
mind, body, spirit, for sure,
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your story with me and taking some time out to do this interview and share with the people, kind of a little bit more about Wisdom of the Earth and your experience with us and with the essences and the oils. Um, Definitely, please do, share that link. We're going to put it in the description box below for your ebook and for your podcast as well. Thank you again, and we will talk to you again soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.